in the National Archaeological Museum of Naples, Italy. Here we view this marble statue, Polykleitos Doryphoros, which means spear-bearer. Originally, there should be a spear in the left hand, hence the name spear-bearer. But something to note is that this is a copy of the original Greek bronze sculpture Polykleitos would have made. This is one of the many Roman copies. This ancient Greek sculpture encapsulates the standard of ideal beauty. The artist created this in a mathematical way to create harmony and balance in the body. He believed that mathematical perfection and perfect proportions were what made something beautiful. This statue was often placed in a gymnasium to serve as a sense of motivation to the people there to achieve the ideal male body. Not only is this sculpture beautiful in a mathematical sense, but also in a physical sense. This nude allows you to see everything in such intricate detail. You see the muscles in every part of the body in such a natural way. It has an early classical effect. The stance Doryphoros is in isn't one that's stiff and super symmetrical, but rather it has a sense of movement to it. The use of contrapposto, the shifting of axes of the body, we see this used in the way Polykleitos framed Doryphoros so that his body weight was shifted. His right shoulder was slightly lower than his left, the weight of his body bared on his right leg, with his left hip hanging just lower than his right. Overall, this sculpture reveals the ancient Greek and even Roman values of math, the body, perfection, and naturalism. Moving on to a very similar idea on mathematical proportions, we have Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, located in the Galleria dell'Accademia, Venice. This Renaissance drawing was the perfect mathematically expressed depiction of a human. It was made based on the writings of Vitruvius, an ancient Roman architect. There are three main elements in this drawing: the so-called Vitruvian man, a big circle, and a big square. If you notice, there are 4 limbs rather than 2, the purpose of which was to display the perfect proportions. With the navel at the center, arms and legs extended, the fingertips and toes should touch the circumference of a circle. If the arms were simply stretched out, it would reach the left and right sides of a square, with the head and the toes touching the top and bottom sides. This drawing shows that there aren't just perfect and ideal portions for buildings, but for man as well, and Da Vinci was able to bring this image to society. His knowledge of anatomy aided him in this idealistic drawing. Another thing to note is the offsetting of the square from the circle. This detail was something that others in the past did not think of when trying to illustrate the perfect human. Often they would put the circle inside the square, or the square inside the circle, and it would throw off the proportions. But through Da Vinci's study of the body and understanding, he was able to visualize what Vitruvius originally had in mind. This version of the perfect human was slightly different from Doryphoros, as he had a lot of physical detail of the body and representation of strength, while this one is focused more on the mathematical aspect, with only the head being depicted in much detail. It wasn't necessarily made to be a grand work of art, but rather informational, and it wasn't meant to be displayed to the whole world, but whoever was supposed to see it is still a little unknown. We are now in the Kunsthistorisches Museum, and we are looking at this Renaissance portrait of Titian's Isabella d'Este, or Isabella in Black. The 2 previous artworks we looked over were not portraits. They were simply idealized figures. This oil painting was made to be an actual representation of someone. Although this is a portrait, and you think someone's portrait is an accurate depiction of who they are, oftentimes it is not, and we see that both in art history and currently. The youth seen in her velvet skin, her cheeks flushed with a hint of red, and the vibrant curly hair is not how Isabella actually looked. At the time this was painted, she was already in her 60s, so this wasn't a portrait of her reality. Rather, it was a portrait of how she wanted to be remembered. She was able to be portrayed in however way she pleased, posed with carefully picked out details, and be glowing with youth. Isabella had a high social status, and part of that meant meeting the social expectations for women at the time. That included ideal beauty. So through this portrait, she was able to make those ideals a reality. Her fair skin was a representation of her inner virtue, her costly clothes showing status, And before she was ever painted, she had descriptions written of her, so that when the painting was done, every detail matched her description and her expectations. This control over her image, it ties back to the idea of to be is to be perceived. And we see Isabella living that on the next level. While her portrait is not a physically accurate one, it is accurate to how she wants everyone around her to see and remember her. And unlike Doryphoros and the Vitruvian man, which represent perfection through mathematics and proportions, Isabella demonstrates the ideal beauty that is shaped by the expectations and ideals of society around her. So, throughout history, art history, we see the way art portrays and tells a story about idealistic beauty within different time periods, different cultures, and different genders. Perhaps it tells a little bit about humanity, the way you often find people wanting to look a certain way and doing whatever it takes to achieve it, even if it's not really who you are. You feel that pressure to conform based on what your society believes, values, and holds. Anything to reach the beauty standard. As you go about your day, reflect on idealistic beauty in society today. How has it changed over the years? Does it change often? What beauty standards and pressures are there that we carry daily that have been put onto us by social media? Do you find yourself trapped in the concept of image control?